Welcome back. The border wall battle continues. The Pentagon is now directing $1 billion in funds for 57 miles of border wall in support of President Trump's national emergency declaration. This is a new migrant caravan has reportedly formed. It is headed for the southern border this morning. Joining me right now is North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer. And, sir, it is good to have you on the program this morning. Thanks so much for joining us. What are you expecting in terms of this caravan and headed to the border once again? And President Trump's plans, he said to me last week, the wall is being built.
Well, I trust that he means it. I hope that he's right. I'd like to see a little bit more action, frankly, from the builders of the wall. I'd like to see more trenches being built and more wall being put into place. There's a lot of planning, there's a lot of designing, and there's a lot of contracting, but I want to see real action. And in North Dakota, if you tasked a contractor with putting up a wall, they'd start working on it tomorrow. So as you can tell, I'm a little bit anxious about the actual process of building, but he's right, and I think the case is being made for him.
And you have called on the Department of Homeland Security to fire the Pentagon officials who are overseeing the border project and instead hire private sector companies. Tell me, Senator, why that would be a big difference. Why are you looking for private sector companies to take on this work?
Well, because the private sector doesn't seem to be as hampered by the bureaucracy that the Corps of Engineers is. Look, the Corps of Engineers is made up just of that, of engineers. They're bound by a bureaucracy that involves lots of planning, lots of bidding, lots of oversight, but they don't build anything. And I think vertically integrated companies who know how to actually build things and have the means to do it are much better than the bureaucracy. And on top of everything else, the Corps of Engineers is a division of the Army, which adds another massive bureaucracy to the process. And when I look at the history of the Corps of Engineers and this particular project, that being border security, I don't see an awful lot of action, but we've appropriated an awful lot of money.
Senator, now that we know that a political enemy, the Clinton campaign, started this whole narrative about Trump collusion, and a couple of dirty cops went along with it, and the media drove the bus on it, and it was all completely false. Now that we know that officially, do you think the sentiment is going to change in any way against President Trump? Is he going to start getting the support that he needs in the Senate and particularly in the House, filled with Democrats that continue to say resist, resist, resist on every one of his proposals?
Well, so far, Maria, there are no signs that the Democrats in Congress are prepared to accept the results of a $30 million, 2-year, 60 investigators and lawyers, process, a very exhaustive investigation. They don't seem to be willing to accept those facts. That said, the real collusion, that being between the Department of Justice, our own Department of Justice, and the Democratic Party, has to come under the microscope, in my view. Will sentiment change? I do think that at least my colleagues on the Republican side should feel a little more comfortable. Unfortunately, some of them were a bit squishy leading up to this point.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Right? At this point, it's time for them to buck it up and stand. It's not about the president. It's about the presidency. It's not about Donald Trump. Right. It's about our country.
Right. And that's what I've been saying the last 2 years. This is not about Donald Trump. This is about America. This is about the fairness of America. To step on the scale and try to change an election and take down a duly elected president. Look, I want to ask you about the Green New Deal and the vote today. But before that, you just said a minute ago that the collusion, really where the collusion was. Are you expecting new investigations to begin out of William Barr's office, looking into the perpetrators of the big lie?
Well, I was quite critical of the previous Attorney General. I feel like when he recused himself of one investigation, he really recused himself from the job. And I'm hoping that Attorney General Barr takes it much more seriously and is much more active. His job is justice. Yeah. Again, personalities and parties, political parties aside, I think he has to look at that because it's right there in the most powerful law enforcement agency in the world, and we just have to root it out, or we'll never restore confidence in our law enforcement.
Yeah, we're going to talk later about this James Freeman op-ed in the Journal today, basically telling the Obama administration time for some accounting. What did Obama know, and did Obama really direct all of these agencies to become so politicized? So we'll get to that. Let me get your take on the Green New Deal. The Senate expected to vote on the plan today. Democrats say the Republicans are forcing this quick tally, and will likely block it. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says that he's pushing for this vote to put Democrats on the record. And in a Fox News poll, 37% of Democratic primary voters said that they would be very likely to back a candidate who supports the Green New Deal. Is the vote taking place today?
I'm sure it will, and I think it'll be very revealing. And shouldn't we all be on the record? I mean, isn't that the whole point? None of us came here to be neutral. I hope not, anyway. You know, we took a position of influence to have influence, and so when you have nearly a fourth of the Senate Democrats, a third of the House Democrats co-sponsoring the bill, they ought to be thanking the leader for bringing it up for a vote. That's why I introduced legislation, is to vote on it. I would think that they'd want to vote on their resolution. However, interestingly, Maria, not a single Democrat has signed on to the bill since the leader announced that he was going to call for a vote. So it does tell you a little bit of something about what they really think about their own ideals.
I mean, if they vote present, what does that say about what they think of the Green New Deal?
Well, it says they don't think much of the Green New Deal. They don't think much of the process. They don't think much of the institution. I mean, again, why would you introduce legislation that you're not willing to vote for?
That's exactly right. And why introduce legislation if then you're going to trash your colleagues who say, okay, let's vote on it? It's just, it's amazing. But we all know the flaws in the deal, and obviously they do too.
Right.
Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thank you.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Senator Kevin Cramer joining us there. Coming up.